That something else is the intrinsic good that we want to, for the egoists, will want to maximize for themselves. For the hedonists, they want to maximize for themselves in the moment. For the tribalist, for their social group. For the utilitarian, everyone. The destructivist will try to minimize intrinsic goods. They'll try to destroy them. This can involve, destroying people who could have had them, but also somebody in a fit of rage, right, can destroy comfortable and pleasant extrinsic goods that would lead to an intrinsic good.
Would an intrinsic good be a healthy or fulfilling relationship?
I would say that the relationship itself is an extrinsic good.
Good to know.
But the feelings that people have between each other are the intrinsic good. And there's lots of extrinsic goods in relationships which lead to intrinsic goods, and these intrinsic goods sustain us. They're why we feel that a relationship or life itself is meaningful. We'll often find that people who generate as much good as possible for the most amount of people, they feel that their lives are much more meaningful than if it was just lived for their own sake. So the rebuttal that a utilitarian would have towards egoism is, if you want to be egoist, then you would want to maintain, or you would want to have the most meaningful life that you possibly can have. Well, utilitarianism in some sense offers that. Because utilitarianism is saying, hey, let's maximize the amount of meaning, the amount of intrinsic good in the world. And the more you generate that, the more your life has meaning. And so
it's meaning for everyone, not just you yourself and your future.
Yeah, I would say that in some ways, if you are creating positive experiences in other people's lives, you are also yourself going to feel a sense of meaning. You're going to have an intrinsic good layered on top of it, your own good.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. Avoiding harm is also an extrinsic good. And this part is a bit controversial for most moral philosophers, because this seems to be the point of most moral philosophy. And I disagree quite thoroughly on this. Avoiding harm has value for the egoist, the tribalist, and the utilitarian, because avoiding harm prolongs our life. And in prolonging life, we get to experience more positive experiences. But also, when we're burdened with some form of suffering, some form of bad experiences, we're less open and we're less able to receive positive experiences. And in that way, we should try to avoid harm. However, if we focus so much on avoiding harm, we can actually find ourselves into a destructivist moral theory. This is often called negative utilitarianism, where, because the aim is, the problem with focusing on avoiding suffering or minimizing suffering in the negative utilitarian camp is this is going to end up resulting in maximizing a lot of harm for a lot of people. The way this happens is just taking into account that we all suffer. And if we all suffer and we're all going to die, and we don't care about the good, but we just care about minimizing suffering, then the most rational thing to do with those premises are to commit mass suicide and just kill everyone. Destroy every living being on the face of the planet is the right conclusion from negative utilitarianism. Because in that case, there's no suffering. That's truly minimized suffering. And that is destructivism. And if a negative utilitarian wants to advocate for destructivism, there are philosophers out there who do this. But yeah, that is the end result if we focus on minimizing suffering. So I think we should look at it just as an extrinsic good, in finding ways to remove the obstacles for us to accept the good into our lives. That's where it has value. The final extrinsic good I want to look at are nonfiction books, lectures, learning material. It wouldn't seem like it, but truth itself is also an extrinsic good. And this took me a while to sort of figure out, because I was like, okay, it seems like the reason why truth seekers want to get truth is for its own sake. That seems to be the reason that they do it. But I think what we tend to find is that truth is used for the sake of something else.
I would even say to prove something too. So a lot of people tend to seek truth in order to prove their point, or in order to prove that they're a specific type of person.
Right. So reputation would also be another extrinsic good. Reputation works well with, power and influence. And so why do we want reputation? It might be, we get a sense of pride, which can be a positive experience. We get a sense of superiority, which, right, it seems negative in one way, but in another way, it feels pleasant. That's why we do things. And so it is also itself a good experience.
You're also painted in a more positive light.
In the community, especially when tribalism is involved, you want to care about that.
Exactly.
If you're an egoist, you also want to care about your reputation. You want to sort of hold the facade, right, that you're a decent person in a community. So truth is an extrinsic good. And we're often willing to sacrifice truth for some greater good. We can look at confidential or secret or top secret information as examples of this. We're willing to say, hey, somebody else's privacy should be respected, because privacy provides us this feeling of security, this feeling of anonymity, which is a good. And these goods are respected at the expense of some truth, and we're willing to sacrifice the truth for those sake. And truth is also sacrificed when, like in the political sphere, when with matters of national security, there's some things that it's just better off for us not to know and not to seek out, because to do so could put other people in danger. So the livelihood, right, the intrinsic good of other people matters more than the truth in some circumstances. Now, the truth is such a high extrinsic good, I would say, that in almost all cases, the truth is going to lead to some intrinsic good. It's nothing rivals the truth in terms of extrinsic goods, but it's still extrinsic. It still can be used. The philosopher could be tempted to never actually enter into a meaningful life, because they're only seeking an extrinsic good in the truth. And so you can get these sort of lonely, unhappy philosophers. They've not arrived. They've maybe chosen this as their good, but it's not good. It's not intrinsically good.
They've put themselves in the loop of talking about the void and whatever.
Yeah, I'm going to call it the extrinsic loop. Is something that existentialists, moral relativists, and just most people can find themselves in. So we want to avoid that loop if possible. So let's rehash some of the connections between extrinsic goods and intrinsic goods one more time. The candy bar example led to a good taste, a good sense of taste, and to a pleasant experience, to a simple, pleasant experience like a sugar rush. Money is used to acquire an assortment of all sorts of things, each of which can give us some pleasant experience or some pleasant feeling. fame or power or influence. These are all used maybe for the sake of money, for the sake of making some changes in a society or in a community. And then these changes are made, so hopefully more people will have positive experiences, or you in particular if you're an egoist. A good job, right, is often for the sake of earning money, which is for the sake of doing those other things, and for having those positive experiences. Fiction, whether in terms of movies or books, provides us an array of positive emotions, which feel good by definition, and are intrinsically good. And then the last example we looked at is truth itself as the highest extrinsic good, and that truth, while not intrinsically good, not only leads to a vast assortment of positive experiences, but it can also give us a sense of pride, a sense of accomplishment,
a sense of superiority.
Sure. And we will sort of organize which positive experiences might be better than others. But all of these experiences are what we're aiming at. That those things are intrinsically good. However, positive experience is not alone sufficient to count as an intrinsic good, despite what I've said so far. There's still one missing key element to an intrinsic good. That feature is consent. In order to generate goods for other people, they have to consent to that good. If you want to do any good for anybody else, they have to be able to consent to it. In our next episode, we're going to be looking at consent as a necessary feature of the intrinsic good. For now, if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe, and see you in the next video.
Bye.